Today's question comes from Portage, Michigan. And this inquiry is asking, my brother and I inherited a home from our grandfather. We each got a deed for half the property. He has lived in the home rent-free while I have been living in another state. He is now selling a home and wants to be paid back for the work he did to put improvements into the home. So he wants to deduct this amount from my proceeds. Can he, and is this legitimate?
Again, an area where real estate and kind of probate intersect with each other, except, they inherited the property, so it's done, right? I mean, they received a property from a relative, and I believe, the deed says that they're 50-50 owners, okay? So if they're 50-50 owners, they each get 50% of the net sales proceeds from the sale of this property. What does that mean? Net sales proceeds, it basically means once the closing costs are paid, property taxes are paid, whatever the balance is left over, that net proceeds would be split 50-50, unless the parties had an agreement otherwise in writing. So I see this quite often. It's unfortunate this is between brothers. I hope they work it out. But just because somebody, if this one brother who's lived in the home puts money into the home, well, if he doesn't have an understanding in writing with his brother who lives out of state, he can't expect for the brother then to partake in any of the, what we call contribution. If they were to go to court, contribution is an offset usually to proceeds, but how much are they looking for, right? That's number one. The other thing is it could be claimed that the brother who's living in the property, I don't know how many years he was living there, but if he's living in the property while his other brother is out of state, he would owe his brother 50% of the market value, the rental value for that property. Right? Now, there could be an argument from the brother who's residing in the property. This is why I'm a 50% owner. I don't have to pay rent. You see, so it becomes a little complicated. So the best way to do this is to have the parties agree in writing as to what they will be willing to contribute towards the property and what needs to be split, whatever the split is. So, and this happens quite a bit. So what if the brother who's living in the property also paid property taxes? It's only right that that brother should be reimbursed at least 50% or whatever his pro rata share is of the property taxes. It's only right. It doesn't mean it's going to happen, because a title company looks at the deed and says, well, you're 50% owners. So whatever that's net sales proceeds are, it says 50-50. Now, it also could say one brother got 70% of the share of the property, the other had 30% of the share. The title company is going to split it 70-30.
Right.
It happens quite often, and the best way to protect both parties against this problem is that before they list the property, they should be talking and saying, hey, we need to do, I need this much money back. The home wasn't marketable. I know you don't have any money to fix it up. Let's say I'll fix it up, but whatever I fix it up, but whatever the amount of money that I contribute towards the repairs for the property and make it marketable, I expect to be compensated,
right?
Reimbursed. And that would make sense. And that would come off the top, what we call the top of the settlement statement. That person would be reimbursed. Okay. But it doesn't always happen that way. And the only way that you can make sure that it will happen the way you want it to happen is to have it placed in writing. And that's it. Nothing more to say. Great question. Another great question.
No, it is. It is. Complicated things. Complicated things. Yep. It seems like every time we have some sort of inheritance question, it's complicated, and I just hope for the parties that they can make it through. That would hurt feelings.
Somebody told me, you know what, Blair, somebody told me the other day that probate is like divorce for dead people.
Oh.
And in a weird way it is. I mean, you start learning a lot about your family members and, who loves who best and A lot
Yeah.
of issues
Mhm.
unfortunately come out. That's why, it's really important for people who are, it's important no matter how old you are, but if you have responsibility and you have assets, to have an estate plan so that these issues don't come up.
Right.
Or in this situation with the two brothers, that they should have something in writing before they list the home. Because I have one more thing to say. I know we go down these slippery slopes and I don't mean to, but once they sign that purchase agreement, the buyer doesn't care what your relationship is with your brother.
Right.
If they do everything they're supposed to do, the buyer doesn't care that, you inherited this home from a parent or grandparent and you have issues. The buyer just wants to close on the transaction and will compel you to close, even if the two of this brother and the
Sure.
brothers get in a fight. That's all.
Yep.
Okay.
All right. That is also true.